moving right along with the show, before I jump into the next segment on Caleb Williams and how he's performing at OTAs, I want to remind you guys, if you have any questions or comments, use the GSMCPodcast.net link you see on your screen. This makes sure that I can see your comment pop up in my chat box and read it out loud and just get your guys' perspective or point of view on anything I say or on any of the topics. It's a major help for this show. So again, if you could, please use the tip and donations link, GSMCPodcast.net, as well with any of your questions or comments. And also, I forgot to mention it on the last segment, Dave's channel actually provided a comment as well saying, CJ Stroud, top dog in a young quarterback, of the young quarterbacks in the South. So I agree. I think he has all the tools to be the top quarterback, not just currently, but also going forward with the team that they have. I certainly agree there with Dave's channel's point. But in saying that, we'll move on to the next topic. Caleb Williams, another very exciting quarterback, another top draft pick, not last year, but obviously this year in the NFL draft. Early on, there was a lot of great news coming from Caleb Williams, with this football in shorts and t-shirts sort of period of the offseason and not playing against the defense currently in the phase 1 part of the offseason. Everything was great. Caleb was making some awesome throws. Rome Odunze looked great. Caleb Williams was going to be a Hall of Famer. That sort of talk you get with some of the overhyped news you get to start the offseason. But now, this week, with OTA starting, you get some 11-on-11, 7-on-7, still without pads on, but you at least get to play the opposing defense. And on the first day, on Tuesday, the Chicago Bears safety, Kevin Byard, said that Caleb Williams took it to the defense on the first day of OTAs, but yesterday it was the first time the media was allowed at practice, and Caleb Williams and the offense this time struggled a lot more against that defense on the 7-on-7 drills and the 11 versus 11 in the red zone as well. Caleb Williams in those drills only had 4 completions and was sacked 5 times. It was also reported by the Athletic's John Green at the practice, and just off of the reports he got from the practice, he said there were a few just missed interceptions. Sometimes Williams couldn't even get the passes off as the secondary used its space advantage in the red zone to shut down receivers. Occasionally, the offense struggled to line up or get a play off as well. I think it's important to preface that there was no Rome Odunze, there was no Keenan Allen, or also the whole right side of the starting offensive line for Caleb Williams. And the offense there, not an excuse, but just something to keep in mind that certainly does affect some of the outcomes. But defensive coordinator Eric Washington also acknowledged the defense's great performance yesterday on Thursday. Said it was a good day for them. They were flying around, and they were really salty from the first day. So they came out there sort of trying to get some revenge on the young quarterback, and they were successful in that. Now, is this a big deal at this point of the offseason to see Caleb Williams struggle? I think it's a big deal, but not for the reason that a lot of people would think. Some people would look at this and say, oh, Caleb Williams, he wasn't everything everyone was talking about. I knew he wasn't really that kind of quarterback to be drafted number 1. People are just waiting for a reason to jump on him and, prove that he wasn't one of the greatest talents we've seen recently come out of college. But I think it's a big deal, but for the reason that it just puts more of a challenge on the plate for Caleb Williams. And at the end of the day, you don't want everything being so great that it almost seems flawless right now for Caleb Williams and almost too easy for him. There is going to be that transition period, and it's more important to have it now at this point where you can correct it right after the play and see what went wrong as well in some situations, rather than having him breeze through the whole offseason. The defense maybe not trying as hard as they can on the number 1 overall pick, and then once the season comes, you have all these problems and all these struggles and mistakes that he's making. It's rather to get it all out of the way now, and Kevin Byard sort of touched on it a little bit. He said that this is what it's supposed to look like when a rookie quarterback plays a young top 10 defense in the NFL, all in good spirit, but he also stated that these rough days will only help Caleb Williams, and I think that's pretty much where I fall as well. There was some good also from yesterday's practice in OTAs. There were some good connections on some screens and good connections, a good relationship sort of starting to build there with DeAndre Swift, so that was a nice positive as well. Also a few nice throws just in general from Caleb Williams on those 7-on-7s to DJ Moore and Gerald Everett as well. Matt Eberflus also said he's already seen some growth from Caleb Williams yesterday in understanding concepts, some of the coverages. Yeah, he struggled with some of it, but he is starting to learn from those mistakes very quickly, which is something you'd love to see from a guy that they put a lot of stock into. To see him learn quickly right after that, ask questions on it, is something certainly that you can build on. And also, offensive coordinators Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus as well also said that they're not holding back at all on Caleb Williams. They're not taking it easy on him just because he's a rookie. He has gotten all this hype. He has been touted as one of the best quarterbacks, like I mentioned before, to come out in the NFL draft. So there's no reason to hold back on him, to keep the training wheels on for that long. They're not holding back, and they really want to see him try and pick up this offense as quickly as a professional quarterback who has been doing this for a while would usually do it. And they've been pretty impressed with how quickly he's taking in all that information and relaying it back out in the huddle. Yeah, there's some mistakes, but at the same time, they are seeing that growth. And I think that's also really important to see right now for Caleb Williams, because it shows, one, that your defense is a high-caliber defense. You don't want a first-year player going in there and picking them apart. If he's as good as advertised, he will, like he did in the first day, but also the defense has to show some sort of hold there to show their capabilities, and I love that from the Chicago Bears players, not taking it easy on Caleb Williams, and it's great competition, and it just shows more motivation as well for Caleb to study harder. It only grows that chip on his shoulder even more to go out there and sort of prove those guys wrong, stick it to them the next practice, and that's really the best part of the OTAs period, when you can't really hit anybody. You go out there, try to perform better, work on these technical things more, and beat the opposing defense, even if it's your own defense, that way, rather than going out there and hitting some guys and being stronger or more physical than them. I think that's one of the coolest parts about this part of the offseason, and also it's good to hear him make some mistakes, but also keep a positive outlook and learn from it. That was according to DJ Moore, what he's seen from Caleb Williams so far. And, they have the you have to see the whole offense together as well. I sort of prefaced it by saying some of them missed out on the first week of OTAs, but next week when you get more players in there and you get full strength offense versus full strength defense, I think that'll be more entertaining. And it's another chance to see Caleb Williams grow with what he can do with the full offense. Right now, it's a little bit bumpy for the young quarterback, but it isn't anything to sweat about. He's going to do great. I think they got their guy finally in Chicago. I'm very excited to see him come September and throughout the whole regular season, how he tries to change the narrative around the Chicago Bears. But that'll do it for that segment. I'll go to a quick break right now, and on the other side of it, we'll talk about some future plans in the NFL, around some future plannings on the Super Bowls and how it could be coming to a new stadium in Tennessee and to the great city of Nashville in 2028. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're listening to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast.